Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel on NFTs. I'm Jennifer Sanasi. I'm a presenter for CoinDesk TV. That's out of New York City. I'm also the Chief Marketing Officer and co-founder of Streambed Media, a company that offers solutions to video creators that uses blockchain technology. So NFTs are something that I'm very, very excited to be talking about today. I am just going to introduce my panel here. So we have Keld Stop. And also, if anyone, I'm pronouncing your name horribly, I'm so sorry. I am Canadian, and please feel free to correct me. Keld is a young Dutch entrepreneur who has various businesses. His most recent startup is Nfts.nl, a Dutch company that helps Dutch entrepreneurs, artists, musicians, and celebrities create, launch, and sell unique and wonderful NFTs. We have Olivier Biggs. Olivier works as a marketer at Get Protocol. His company offers a blockchain-based smart ticketing solution that can be used by everyday people in an honest and transparent way. That's what we all love to hear. And then we have Sander Petit. Sander is an attorney who aims to provide his services within the creative industry. He's known within the industry as the dance lawyer and has recently written an article about NFTs on his website. He has extensive knowledge about the legal frameworks in the music industry. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks. Right. Thank you.
I'm really excited to be talking to all of you here today. So let's just kind of get started. This is a question everyone has been asking. I think it's been in every main media organization's headlines or on their front page of their magazine or newspaper. What are NFTs? And I think more importantly, what I'd like to hear from each one of you, what is an NFT to you, and what's the most prominent use case? I'm going to start with Olivier.
Yeah, sure. So the way I look at it, it's a way to prove digital ownership in a broad sense. From our perspective, the way I approach it is from the world of ticketing. So in ticketing, there are a lot of issues traditionally in proving ownership and lots of fraud and lots of scalping. So being able to very clearly register ownership of something with certain standards. So for example, ticket price and conditions for resale are very interesting and have a lot of potential to disrupt the market. So that's something we've been looking at for the last year. And we're finding a lot of ways to really add a lot of value for end users in the event industry, live event industry, and also finding a lot of potential for more value with artists directly and cutting out middlemen, which is something that everyone loves, most people. So that's my take on it. Yeah.
On the topic of ownership, I think that's a great segue to kick it on over to Sander. From a legal perspective, what do NFTs tell you about our future?
Well, most important, like currently we can really shape the future of music. And it's really important to see what the challenges are with NFTs, but more important, what are also the possibilities that lie ahead. And for me, it's about getting aware and bringing awareness about the legal aspects of music as an artist or a label, because if you know more about the law and the rights, you can identify permissions, but also related to that income streams. And by defining those income streams, you can make smarter deals. So if you know what your rights are, you know where permissions are and where the money is, you can make smarter deals. And eventually, I believe that making those smarter deals and fairer contracts and more transparent transactions will lead to more income, and more income itself will lead to more creativity, and creativity itself will lead to more nice work out there. So I think we can use NFTs and really dive deeper into it to eventually like fix a little bit a broken royalty system and capitalize on intellectual property and get something out of something which wasn't really scarce, but it's becoming scarce right now by the use of NFTs. And I really like to help in that matter.
I'm so excited to talk about the rights issue a little bit later on. But Keld, tell me about the vision for NFTs.nl.
Okay, yeah, the vision is really big. We literally launched 1 month ago, and we already got in on Dutch television, on Dutch radio, on some YouTube channels. So the attention was really big, and we got really like a lot of requests of companies, artists, DJs to help them and provide the information correctly to NFTs. So right now we're having like big brands that we're working with, and we will see the couple of months that are coming, the launches of them. So that will be really cool. But the big vision will probably be that NFTs.nl will be a full platform that has everything about NFTs, where you can also buy and sell NFTs. So on a much greater scale with NFTs and just the technology behind it, we provide it for companies.
Okay, so I think we've kind of jumped right into the future of NFTs and what we'd all like to see NFTs do. But Sandra, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you wrote about this recently on your website. For our audience and people who are watching this who still don't really understand what an NFT is, can you just break it down for us?
Yes, well, the short version of it is that an NFT stands for non-fungible token, which means it is not interchangeable with other similar tokens. So for example, if you have a German euro and you have a French euro, you can change them. So they are fungible. And a non-fungible token means that you cannot interchange them. So they have their own value, and it's basically a proof of ownership of something digital, but it can also be something in real life. But let's keep it simple. For the music industry to, for example, an MP3. You can still make copies of it, but with that token, you own the digital copy. You do not own the underlying rights, at least usually you do not. So yeah, that is really in short what I think an NFT is, but from a technical point of view, I think Kjeld can fill those points in.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree. You said it already perfectly. And on the technical point, it's a piece of data, a metadata that you put behind a digital object. So let's say you have a picture and you add a piece of data behind it or a smart contract, and that's added to the blockchain. And when that happens, an NFT is created, and this is done by Ethereum, or it can be done. There are also other blockchains where you can put NFT on, but the Ethereum blockchain is right now the biggest and has the most value to grow. So, yeah.
Okay, so now we know what an NFT is. Anyone want to take a stab at telling us how we actually create an NFT? I'm gonna throw it to you, Olivier, because you.
I just minted my first NFT. So
you did?
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Congratulations.
I dove into the theory behind it, and I thought about what the legal aspects could be. But I think it's also important that if you're really interested in something, and it's of course a good stimulus to also have a stake in it. So yeah, I uploaded one of my Instagram posts on my Instagram profile with the thought that you could now really digitally own a piece of my knowledge. So yeah, that's quite interesting what's going to happen with it. I'm still a little bit hesitant about the gas fees, but I'm willing to take this step and just to see how it works out, because, you know, apart from the theory in which you can read about it, if you put it into practice, then you really start understanding what's going on. And I must say, I'm quite happy I made that step with Bitcoin a while ago. But this is also an interesting movement to see from a legal perspective, you know, what's going to happen step by step, and how is the user experience while doing it? How are the contracts? How are the terms of use, etc. So yeah, I'm quite excited. Hopefully it will sell.
I hope it's going to sell too. My fingers are crossed for you. I'm going to kick it over to Olivier. I want to talk about these gas fees that Sandra just brought up. Why is everyone talking about gas fees when it comes to NFTs?
Yeah, so from my understanding, it's ETH transactions, and when you mint an NFT, especially on Ethereum, you're required to interact with the smart contract, which is quite pricey at times, especially when a lot of people are doing it at the same time. So you can really see huge swings in these costs between certain times of day even, and maybe certain days of the week. So now with the hype at the peak, I would say personally that we are at right now, and everyone paying so much attention to it, it's a pretty blatant roadblocker, and one of the arguments, I guess, that people who are not yet convinced by NFTs and by crypto in general, that they use to say, well, this is not, in any shape or form cost efficient for real world utilization, which is for sure a challenge. I think everyone who's doing it, I think Sandra, you mentioned, you were doubtful about whether or not to mint it because of the high price. It's certainly something that we, from a ticketing perspective, have to keep in check. And of course, you can't offer the service of buying a ticket for 10 euros and then charge on a gas fee for $190. You're not going to have the most clients then, I would think. So you need to be smart about it. And luckily, there are a lot of smart people in the world. But the reality is that we're just working with and looking at a totally new technology that has so much potential, and but still has some growing pains. And luckily, every week there's more than I can read worth of new developments in terms of the technical capabilities and the new challenges and new solutions and new challenges with those solutions. And it's a lot of fun. And I think the trick is in kind of keeping it simple and breaking it down, and finding ways to get the mainstream people in on it in a way that's fun and easy for them and doesn't feel too technical or too expensive or too scary. And then I think there's a bright future for it. Yeah.
I think everyone is just kind of figuring it out right now, and it's great to see people having fun with it. So I think just like any emerging technology, we're gonna figure it out, and there's gonna be some bumps along the way, but we're heading towards something very cool.
Absolutely.
On the topic of gas fees, Kelp, I wanted to get your opinion. What do you think of these like really high fees being a barrier to entry to young artists who are reading these massive headlines who want to get into the space?
It's a really big problem right now because like we also get requests from like artists that are not even known, that just do it for the hobby, and to instantly pay a huge amount of gas fees that's between $50 or $150 is too much for them. So they're really excited that they can finally make art and put it online and have digital ownership of it, and that they can sell it. But when they know about the gas fees, they're like, shit, but this is maybe not yet for me. So we also look into other blockchains where the gas fees aren't as high. But that development still needs to go further. But it's a problem right now, especially for really expensive art or just the really cheap ones.
But a point to that is still that the gas fees aren't, for example, like Ether. So we translate it to dollars and euros. Same with the prices that go for the artworks being sold. But I think if you split it from actually the cryptocurrency and the real life currency, you see there is a big difference. You've seen that with the rise of Bitcoin. You've seen people giving 2 or 3 Bitcoin, I think, as a tip for the pizza guy. Back then it was nothing, but now we see it could be like $180,000. So gas fees are also kind of relative, depending if you need to buy Ether at that point with your dollars or euros, or if you have already bought them when they were maybe $10. And there are a lot of crypto billionaires right now just not knowing what to do with that money, because either you spend it on this kind of stuff, or you pay tax, or you transfer it to regular currency. So that's what makes the conversation a little bit difficult, I think, sometimes. Because yes, gas fees are high if you have to buy the ether, but no, gas fees are low if you already have them and bought them way back. But that's the interesting thing as well, I think.
Sandra, I was going to say just before you said that, everyone please feel free to interrupt me if you have something to add. And I'm just kind of like zooming along. And that was a really great point. I think a lot of people who are participating in NFTs right now are these ETH whales that have been holding on to ETH
Yes.
for so long, right? Like they've had ETH, they're not spending the dollar amount now to get it, and they're making these headlines buying $69 million pieces of art. And so I wanted to get your reaction when you guys saw that Beeple's art sold for $69 million. What was going through your heads?
It's really revolutionizing the game, and I think it shows the power of the community that we have and that it's created. It also shows that there is a lot more coming, because 69 million maybe sounds a lot right now, but
it is a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, but I really think it will be a lot more in the future. Like how Beeple has created this art piece, it's incredible. 13 years of work, and finally putting this online, like, it's crazy. So 69 million maybe sounds like a lot, and it is, but in its own value, it will be worth a lot more in the future. So yeah.
Plus, it's kind of a unique artwork, and it took a lot of time to make it. And you see a differentiation between some artists that simply create, something funny or a meme, or artists like people who put a lot of effort into it, or artists like Don Diablo who give extra features or real life premiums coming with the NFT. Or for example, for Olivier, for the ticketing system, it really has an added value. And for a lot of things, I think it is not, or we don't see it yet. But for a lot of things, there are, and I think those kind of things are really thriving, and hopefully the whole hype gets past the hype point and starts building on the extra features that trading in NFTs could bring along.
Yeah, for sure. I think, of course, the 69 million is the headline, of course, that pulls everyone into the technology. So I think that was a clever move from the guy who bought it. And you're also kind of buying a piece of history, I guess. It's the first auction that way. But I think you're right, Sander. I think right now there's a lot of momentum. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of money in it, flowing into it. Everyone's trying to get a piece of the pie, basically. And I think it would be very healthy if there is now a retrace in terms of popularity. I don't hope so for Kjeld's sake and for his website, but it's a very logical step. I think we saw it also 4 years ago with blockchain, when all these companies put blockchain on their website and their stock value tripled, and no one actually really knew what it meant or what it could do, but there was this feeling of possibility. And I think we're at the same point now, and it's really now up to a lot of smart people to really start building and start creating utility all over the place. And really, I think one of the clear use cases is in the music industry, like you said, also, and this sense of royalties, and more so the programmable royalties. I think you were probably talking about. Also, the same goes for ticketing. It's such a huge added value if you're able to program that 20% of every resold ticket goes back to the original event organizer. That's a huge thing. That really, it seems kind of obvious and maybe not so sexy, like 69 million artwork. But kind of leveraging that playfield and really bringing utility on a day-to-day basis to certain industries is where it's going to really gain traction in a lot of directions. And then from there, it's going to prove itself organically, hopefully.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's the thing. Right now, NFTs have the hype behind the art, but NFT is just a technique. It's just something that you can prove ownership or add that share to everything that is sold. So we don't need to, like right now it's the hype, but we really have to take a look at it from a much broader aspect and just see where it goes. But it's just a technique, nothing more than that. So like the use case of it is right now overhyped, but like there are so many more things that can be used for, and it will be having a lot of added value to it. So yeah.
Yeah, Kjeld, I think you nailed it right on the head. Right now, it's the hype. We're hearing a lot about it. There's like a lot of money in it. It seems really sexy. But there's a real use case for this in the creator community, and that's what I want to talk about next. If we look to the future, how is this really going to be a game changer for creators, especially when we look at what they've gone throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, especially for musicians? We've been talking a lot about musicians on this panel.
Yeah, I'll start off with this one if you don't mind. I think it's actually influenced also the popularity of that sense of ownership for creators in the widest, broadest sense. Because everyone's been at home just doing nothing, not making any money except for people. So a lot of people have been thinking, wow, how am I going to make money and how am I going to do this? And this just opens up the whole game. So I think there are people are really clamoring to it because it's coming from that sentiment, that kind of maybe that little bit of panic from what am I going to do? And there's a really cool thing that we're working on at Get Protocol, where I work, is the using NFTs and a little bit of DeFi magic. We're gonna enable event organizers and artists to pre-finance their own events, so they can bundle tickets for future events and offer those up to DeFi investors. And these tickets are NFTs. And that way they can have their fans or people who see some value in these tickets and think that it's going to sell out, who want to speculate on the success of the event, kind of crowdfund the money up front so that they can cover expenses and organize the event without any financial risk. And then once the actual tickets are sold, then the investors get their investment back with a little return, and the event takes place and everybody's happy. So that's just one kind of iterance of what's possible. Yeah, so I think it's kind of connecting the creator with the fan in the widest sense. That's really exciting for a lot of people, and that really hits home. And even if people don't really understand the tech, and you know, it's a weird acronym and there's all sorts of stuff, no one really understands the word fungible. It's still this sense of what I make can go to you and vice versa that really hits home with a lot of people, and I think that's where the heart is of what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, just before we move on, you mentioned something else that people might not understand, and that's DeFi.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can really explain that in a short amount of time, but just for our audience who's listening, what's DeFi?
Sorry, I blew past that one. Yeah, so DeFi is another acronym for Decentralized Finance. So that's what we're seeing. It's a whole new subgenre, I would say, of crypto and of blockchain that's really focused on financing and economic systems and how they relate to each other and how you can earn revenue. And there's all sorts of crazy terms I could throw in, but you're only going to ask me to explain them more.
Yeah.
So it's basically decentralized finance, and the idea and the real power behind that whole concept is that there are no more central players like banks that kind of control the rules, and you can just do with your money what you want. And that also seems a little bit like it's a logical thing, but in this world where economies are kind of coming to a halt and banks are initiating more and more restrictions on their clients, it's actually a pretty interesting use case and subgenre. yeah, hope that answers it a bit.
So essentially, we're putting money back into the creators' hands by coupling NFTs and DeFi.
Right. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. It's a really exciting thing, and it's funny because if you explain this, you can explain this to artists. We have with a lot of our clients, artists and artist management. We've kind of explained it to them, and if you start by saying there's NFTs and DeFi, they get this glossed over look in their eye, and then they think they're gonna be buying drugs with Bitcoin, and they've read all these scary articles. But if you explain it from the creator perspective and the connection between the creator and the fan, then they get it, and it's totally makes sense, and it's actually very very disruptive, and everyone's totally into it. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. It's looking good.
Sander, when it comes to the future of NFTs from a creator perspective, do you have anything to kind of add on to what Olivier was just saying?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's most important for independent artists because if you are looking at the current music industry and looking at the bigger artists who are signed to a label, it's nice that you can mint an NFT and sell it. But on the other hand, it will still fall under your label deal as an artist. So the label will still get most of the income out of it. So that's usually depending on the type of contract you have, but somewhere between 15 to 30% will be yours. So yes, it is a nice way to engage with your artist, but that is if you are allowed to get the data from your management and your record label, meaning that you will probably have to negotiate that in your contract. But I think as an unsigned artist, it can be a nice opportunity. But on the other hand, if you are an unsigned artist, then why are you not with a label or with the management? That could be by choice, but that could also be because you're not that big yet. So it's a very delicate and difficult situation for a lot of like the small fish to start embracing the system, who's given so many chances, but they don't have the big audience yet. So you can start building. And I think if you start doing that with a lot of heart for the scene and doing it in a way that is sustainable, then it will be interesting from an artist point of view, and then it could fix like a broken system. But as long as there is an offline world and an online world that are not totally connected to each other, then there will still be gaps that have to be bridged. And I think that will be a reason for a lot of negotiations and breaking up contracts. But for the new contract being signed, that could be something that we can take into account to really create a fair music industry. And it would be really nice, well, from my or at least legal perspective, to accommodate that change and to talk to people like, hey, this might be a better deal structure, or this might be a better type of contract for your situation. Because the situation that is created right now, for a large part, derives that people just started copying contracts and saying this is industry practice, so this is what we should do. But those arguments, especially right now, and especially in electronic dance music, don't always work out because the situation has changed. And there are so many new possibilities to create music, to collaborate, etc. And you cannot apply the old type of deals to it. But that did happen up until, now actually. And it will continue to happen if we don't talk about, what's better for the artist, or what's more transparent, or what is a better way to look at the industry and how to divide the income. So I do see a lot of possibilities, but we do also need to talk about the rights and the contracts underneath it, because otherwise you will still build or copy the old system into the new one, and it's about to derail again in a couple of years, I think.
Sander, can I ask you, do you believe that the traditional world, so say the music labels in that instance and the players there, are going to be able to catch up to the new system and be able to implement some type of framework that works for everyone before the artists kind of find ways to do it themselves?
Yes, I think it's two factors. There's the people who are exploiting the music rights. Just a little quick one-on-one to identify those persons. So if you write a song or make a track there's a copyright. So if you fold the paper double on the left side, you could say copyright. It's for composers, it's for songwriters, for the people who write the lyrics, and that right is usually exploited by the publisher. And if you look at the public performance and mechanical reproduction site in the Netherlands, it's Buma Stemra, but that could be different in any country. So on the right side of the paper, there is the performance rights of the performing artist and the phonogram producer. That's the party who recorded the performance of the artist. So it's the master owner. Usually those rights are exploited by the record label, and SENA is the party who collects money for the public performance. So you got two different laws and rights and two different income streams, or even three, and there are different parties connected to it. So I think the change there has already started by, for example, the publishers having databases that could actually like talk to each other. But those databases are not always allowed or possible to talk to the databases of the collective rights societies. Then there is still the fingerprinting issue that not all music played is recognized, or, well, it is possible, but it doesn't happen. But yes, that could be fixed, but still we would need one library where all the music rights and all the metadata is. So if you want to go to a really decentralized system with direct and transparent payments, then, for example, if I click play on SoundCloud for a track, then that should immediately go to all the rights holders, the data, and maybe also a little bit of the money that goes through SoundCloud. So I do think it's possible, but there are still a lot of middlemen having a little benefit from sitting on black box money. So money that is unaccounted for by the artists, by the writers, by the record labels, and they get interest on that money, and they're not really benefited by distributing it straight to the artist. But yes, it is possible. I think it has been possible since, well, maybe early 2017 or before. Well, Garrett Emery's Tune started when there were Ujo Music in the USA started. So they had a decentralized system, but there was no connection with the real world or the world we are living in. But yes, the possibilities are there.
But do you think so or no? Is your money on the system or on the artist in terms of speed? It's a stupid question, but I'm just curious.
No,
question is stupid.
I hope on both. I think we could equally split that money.
Yeah.
But the current system has been very hard to change because of the arguments, because the money is with the big parties currently. Yeah. But I think if you have if you rise together as artists and create something else that is not infringing, of course, but it's creating new possibilities. And if there are a lot of people in it, not only for the cash, but for the future, then you can change the system. Yeah.
Yeah, and there needs to be a new something. So like right now you have Spotify, you have SoundCloud, but there has to come something that is new where artists can put their music on that's added to the blockchain and has those smart contracts. So like NFTs can add value if Spotify just stays as Spotify. But when there comes a new platform or new program where artists can go over there, then it will. But until that's not happening, it will be really, really hard to connect it right back to the normal world, as Sander said.
Now, on the topic of smart contracting and rights, I just want to clear something up here. So, for example, the person who purchased the Beeple artwork, they didn't actually purchase the rights to that piece of art. And I think that is a complicated scenario to explain. So Sander, I'm going to kick it back to you. We're talking a lot about rights. When you buy an NFT and you spend millions of dollars on a piece of art and but don't receive the digital rights, there sounds like there's like a disconnect there to me.
Yeah, I agree. That was my first reaction too. Until I start figuring that if you get more tangible examples, like buying a piece of digital space or in a digital game, everybody understands if you buy a piece of land, you get a paper saying you own the land. So why not own a piece in a game where other players can walk over? But if you look at Beeple, yes, you get a token, you get a certificate to a copy. And there are websites that sell percentages of copyright, mainly in the US, selling percentages of the sound recording copyright, that is the neighboring rights in the Netherlands, or the master rights as we call them. And then you get a right. But in most cases, you just buy a certificate on a digital copy, and the underlying rights are not being sold. Even more so, and I think that's a really important part if you look at dance music. There are, of course, a lot of interested DJs hopefully watching this panel. And I've checked out like quite some websites and what you would actually buy. So, for example, Clouds minted his techno classic called Chain to Deck Camel. And I was looking into the terms of use, but what you are buying is also for personal use. So even if you have the NFT and if you get a copy of the track, so for example, in an MP3 or a WAV file, me as a DJ, so I would not be able to play it at a gig because that would not be personal use anymore. So it is an interesting point. What are you exactly buying? And that is really dependent on A, the terms of use of the platform, and B, the sales contract. But the sales contracts are not really out in the open as I've found them. So usually I get stuck on point 1 at the terms of use. But yeah, that is an interesting point. So what are we actually paying for?
I can add value to that. The thing that has been done to the Beeple artwork is Beeple has said, if you buy this piece of art, the 69 million, let's say, you can do whatever you want with it. You get the ownership and the copyright of it. So that's something. So if you sell an NFT, yes, you own only the ownership and you don't have the copyright of it until it says in that NFT and in the platform where you buy that NFT, and it says now you own also the copyright, then you're free to go. And that's also something that went with Don Diablo. He also said, if you own this NFT, my digital work, it's all yours. You can publish it, you can put it on YouTube, you can do whatever you want. It's all yours. So yes, the copyright is only to the person that has made it, until he says, okay, if you have it, the NFT, then you can do whatever you want with it. So it depends.
That's an interesting point though, because yes, but would that change you into the maker or the owner of the copyright? And there are still some copyrights that you cannot transfer. I mean, you cannot waive them.
That's correct.
So, but I do think I value his proposition very highly, and I think he's one of the artists that really add value to the digital certificate to also like make it really exclusive. Like his video showed it, he's been working on for a year, or his keyboard that was in a hologram that you received when you were buying the NFT. That's adding value, but I would be interested to review the contract. And I understand for Beeple, for example, if you buy something for such a large amount of money, that you get a little bit more rights than the general transfer of ownership on most NFTs and what comes with it.
We spent a lot of time talking about smart contracts, but I don't think we quite explained them to a level that maybe a newcomer to the space would understand. So why is a smart contract important to artists, especially independent artists?
Well, a smart contract, you could see it as a normal paper contract, but then digitally that enables certain things to happen. So for example, if A happens, then B happens. Meaning if your track gets played, you get paid. Normally, there were a lot of middlemen in between, and you would have to wait a long time for the money. and you would also rely upon certain handlings to be taken place. And now everything's automated. So that is an interesting feature, I think. And also that it's on a blockchain and not easily changeable, and signed in a certain time. It has a date stamp on the ledger in a block, making it easy to check, never to get lost. So I think those are interesting features of a smart contract too.
A point that we made a little bit earlier, we're talking about independent artists who maybe want to get into space through NFTs. There was a story that was published on CoinDesk earlier this week where they spoke to Nigerian artists. And one of the artists said, one of the barriers to entry, like if we leave the gas fees aside, was that she felt like only really well-known artists could do well through NFTs because they already have a following online. People want to own a piece of their artwork. So what would you say to emerging artists who want to get into the space? Anyone can take that.
It's the same. It's the same as selling it without an NFT. So if you're an artist and you're really big and you already sell 1 million copies of your song, then it's also possible to do that with an NFT. But if you're a small artist and you're not even selling thousands of copies of your song, you can't expect to happen with NFTs. So if you do the same thing, but then with NFTs, you can think that it will reach 1 million copies that are being sold, because that's just not the case. So it confers right back at how big you are and how broader you want to scale it up.
I think that's of course very relevant, but in terms of, I'm not sure if this was a visual artist or graphic artist, but I would say to that point,
visual art.
Yeah, visual art. Yeah. So then I would say, have you seen some of the ugly crap that's being sold for the amount of money that is being sold for? Because it's truly disgusting, with all due respect. But I think if you're an artist now trying to get in on it, now is the time to do it. And there are a lot of really big like Reddit channels and Discord channels where all people do is discuss and buy NFT art. And it's very normal for a new artist to pop up in there and say, hey, this is my first NFT. What do you guys think? I've got all these other works that I'm looking to make into NFTs. And then people will check you out for sure. And like you said, it's a lot of them are ETH whales who really don't mind sending 2 or 3 ETH.
I don't know if Olivier is frozen or
he fell away.
I think so, but yeah, I do agree on what he said. I just hope that people get really creative and get lucky, and then buy super cool studio gear and don't have to worry about paying rent or paying food, but that you can create income, and income creates freedom, and freedom creates creativity. And that's what it's all about eventually. And also for emerging artists, get into it and invest in that kind of future. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you?
Olivier, I'm going to hand it back to you because I think you're unfrozen.
Yeah, sorry.
You froze at ETH whales.
Yeah, that's when they get you. If you say it 3 times, they pop up.
They're like, take them offline.
Yeah, so no, basically the point I was trying to make is that it's just a matter of where you put it up for sale right now, I think. But you can, as an artist, I would definitely go for it and try to profit off the hype and find some channels and people. There's a lot of people that I've seen online on Twitter or on Discord and all over the place that are really looking for undiscovered artists because they think it's going to give them an edge in terms of investments. And these ETH whales, they've got plenty of money or ETH. So yeah, so I would think there's a lot of opportunities still right now.
This is a totally unrelated note, but I just want to share this wonderful news story I saw this week about a man who was playing live music on a live stream. I want to say it's Twitch, but I don't remember what platform. And nobody was watching him. And then a bunch of crypto people crashed his session and gave him $85,000.
Wow.
You just count
Yes.
on the crypto community to really just surprise you sometimes.
Yeah, but I think you, even if you're not super well-known artist, but if you have created super interesting moments, then people will be likely to participate or to share that moment. So it can really deepen the connection that you have with fans. So, you know, for example, one of my friends, Ale Kasser, he's a Argentinian DJ living in Berlin, and he asked me, should I get into like minting NFTs? And my first reaction was, well, it's still a hype. But then I figured, I was in Berlin like I think about a year ago, and he was doing a morning set in the Sisyphos, somewhere around 6 or 7 a.m. And he played some tracks and also like a new remix he made, and that was like one of those moments with a gold frame around it. And if he would mint it, I would, that would be the kind of NFT that I would like to buy. It's more special than you would buy it if you buy it off Beatport, because there are gazillion unlimited copies. And if you own a little piece of that memory, then I can imagine that if you have that with a couple of people, it also bonds the fans together. So, I think that those kind of possibilities and opportunities are really interesting for emerging or smaller artists to create and to make super fans out of your regular fans who just listen to your music and accept it as being free, or replay it over SoundCloud time after time, giving the artist 20 cents after so many plays. So yeah, I think that's a really cool possibility of NFTs in the current music industry.
For first-time NFT minters, I'm going to ask each one of you, what platform do you recommend? And you're not allowed to recommend your own. Or if you do recommend your own, you want a good reason.
But OpenSea is right now really good. It's right now the one to go, but you also have Rarible and some other. But I would say OpenSea if you're just getting started, just want to have a picture that's added to the blockchain and has an NFT to it. So yeah.
Okay, we got one for OpenSea.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say OpenSea as well. I think just in terms of also network effect, I think it's the biggest. I'm not sure, but I think also they're making a lot of progress in terms of really accessibility and really offering a wide variety in an understandable way. And that's really where I see the added value, is making things accessible, making it easy, making it fun. And I think they're pretty far ahead in that. But there's also Mintbase, I believe, which is just very easy, and I think they're working on similar things. As long as it's focused towards simplifying, then I'm on board.
I think Blue Box is an interesting party as well, as they have the copyrighted NFTs, or at least NFTs containing copyright of tracks. And so they already have a proven system to kind of crowdfund or give shares for records, and you get, for example, a percentage on the master royalty. So I am on OpenSeas with my Insta post, but I think I read about Blue Box as being an interesting partner in the music industry to have a look at. I do not know about the gas fees, but either way, at OpenSeas they're currently quite high as well, in my opinion. So maybe Blue Box does a better deal. But they have a nice experience with NFTs and music and copyright, so that makes them my pick of choice.
Awesome. I want to come back to what we were talking about earlier. We were talking about musicians and these like online experiences that they can offer. And I believe it was Kings of Leon in their NFT launch. They had a whole bunch of different offline experiences that were attached to their NFT that I thought were really cool. Is that the future of where we're going here? Is it really an online offline mix?
Yeah. I think that's really the added value. Yeah. Apart from, there are a lot of crypto billionaires right now, and I think it's different for pop music than it is for maybe more underground like techno or hardcore or hardstyle, because you won't really see Arabian Princes on the VIP area from a deep and dark and hard rave, but they will be at the swimming pool parties. So I think it really depends a little bit. But yeah, I think the offline extra features also show that the artists care about the fans and the people buying the NFTs and not just about the money. So definitely.
Yeah, for sure. It's about the experience at the end of the day. So for music and for events, I think that really goes. You want to offer your fans and attendees something cool, something they're going to remember. So one of the examples that we're looking into is how can you create the memory of an event and make it last more and more dynamic. And with NFT tickets, you can really do so. Like we're trying to recreate the feeling of traditionally of sticking a ticket to a cool concert on your refrigerator. So we're going to do that in a way that you can compile all your NFT tickets from shows and events that you've been to in a digital version of this. And you can have stuff to look at, and it's going to be cool. And artists can make it dynamic, and artists can reward you retroactively. So moving back to what Sander said about the super fans, that's super interesting for artists and for organizations to see, oh wow, this person attended 5 of my last shows. This person is a diehard fan, so let's send them some cool exclusive content, or let's invite them for a meet and greet. So you can really amplify the experience, and it doesn't just have to be in the venue. It can also be upfront, and it can also be afterwards, and you could even connect them that way, and then really reward the people that show you loyalty, which is just a whole new added layer of opportunity, I think.
Do you guys think that these crypto rich people are pushing out the super fans though right now? Like right now, when we have all of this hoopla and everyone's spending hundreds of thousands and tens of thousands and millions of dollars on these things, the actual super fan maybe can't afford to participate. And so do you think that that's one of the downfalls that we're seeing now that needs to be corrected?
Yeah, but it also depends. The problem that there is right now is the amount of NFTs that there are and the amount of artists that have put out NFTs against the people that want it. So right now there are like only a few NFTs that have been released, like Kings of Leon, Don Diablo. And so that means there are also only a few that can afford it and can buy it. But in the future, like every artist will do it. So so also the price will go down with that, and that will bring the possibility to a much broader audience.
I disagree. I think well, I do agree on the possibilities, but I disagree that it's pushing out other fans. I think it can be both. And I think the guy who bought Don Diablo's work is not maybe his biggest fan. I think the biggest fan is not measured in how many Ether you got, or Ethereum, or Bitcoin, or whatever. It's how much heart you got for the music. And that will be never pushed out by money, I think. I think the people, you know, who run to the front of the fence at a festival, those are the biggest fans. The people who come to your gig, even when the dance floor is almost empty, or when you have to play at 9 o'clock in the morning, for example, those are your biggest fans, and not necessarily the people who spend the most money on your NFT, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so we're winding down the panel now, but I have a few, not rapid fire because we can discuss them, but some more like hard hitting future prediction questions for you guys. All right, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that NFTs are going to put Spotify and music labels in their current form out of business within the next decade?
I'll take this one. Spotify, no. Music labels, yes.
Why?
I think from my understanding, which is granted, I'm not in the music industry myself, but from what I understand about it, the major conviction for artists wanting to join a label these days is money, because they need money to get shows, to get the distribution done, or get the actual music made. And I think that with the arrival of NFTs, a lot of these costs are going to be able to be decentralized and going to be, in most cases, the artist going to be able to do it themselves, with several caveats, I'm sure. But I think that that's really going to flip the business model on its head, and probably going to have a lot of artists at least reevaluate why they're actually signing a contract with people, and whether that value is still worth it, and if they shouldn't at least try it themselves first, and hopefully force something.
I do not agree on that. I think it will not push out Spotify. It will change the system that they will divide royalties, and I will think they won't definitely not push out record labels, because even though you're an independent artist working from home, you could need or want external advice on promotion, on how your music sounds, on how tracks are distributed, and how everything works, and how the contracts are arranged. And those are usually things that you do not want to do, or you cannot do yourself. So I think record labels will definitely hold value and will not be pushed out of the system. But I think the way they sign the contracts, I agree on that point, that should change. And I think the way money is distributed, that should change. And I think creative and financial control, yes, that should change. But I think NFTs will not push out Spotify or SoundCloud or any type of streaming platform or record labels, because they are all different players in the games. But the way they are connected, yes, that will change.
Held?
Yeah, I agree totally with Sander. I really understand what Olivier says, and I kind of agree. But the full package is just like a record label adds value to an artist, like the knowledge that they have already with, because they have already a lot of artists, and also the connection they have with other artists. So it's also something that brings it together. So NFTs will just be a part of everything that's already happening right now. So Spotify will make a really big change, probably. Otherwise, they will get out by something else. But Spotify will change it, and they will add something with NFTs. So, yeah.
Okay, next one. Most major events will sell their tickets in the form of NFTs in the next 3 years.
I hope so.
Yeah, that will be cool, but 3 years really depends on how we accept the change and the things that are happening with COVID. So the good thing is that all the festivals that like they have so much time right now, because there are no festivals, there are no concerts. So they have right now the time to innovate, to change something, and to make a difference. So yeah, it can be possible, but I think we look at around 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a tricky one. In 3 years, it's close. It's very hard to say whether everyone's going to do it. It's for sure something that's being looked at from all sides, and I think the trick for us at Get Protocol, who are, of course, this is pretty much our goal in a lot of ways, is to show also the traditional ticketing companies of the world, who have very old systems and are very scared of change, usually, because it often goes hand in hand with them making less money, that everything is going to be okay, and that we can hold their hands, and that they don't really need to change everything, but rather we can just add a layer of on-chain activity that's not going to interfere with any of their business. It's only going to add benefits and add revenue in lots of ways. And I think from what I've heard and seen, they're open to this and they are seriously considering this stuff. So I'd say 3 to 5 years, then we should be good. Yeah.
Sander?
I fully support the case. I just hope rather sooner than later.
Yeah, the only downside there is right now is that you can buy if the ticket has an NFT and it is an NFT, that you can buy the ticket with just your normal paying system. It is something new. So that like how easy it is for us to use it, but there are like let's say 90% of the people still don't have a crypto wallet. So like that change really needs to happen before we really go to a new system.
I have great news for you, Kjeld, because it has happened.
Really?
Yeah.
I was waiting for
Nice.
that.
Yeah, we do it. So we offer just fiat money tickets, and these are all on-chain Ethereum transactions, and there's even NFTs connected to them. So it's for sure possible, and there's still a lot to be done in terms of accessibility and interoperability to make it all actually have added value to the 85-year-old grandma that's going to see a theater show. But the system is there, and we're doing it. So it's that step has been taken, and now it's just a matter of convincing the bigger players and the dinosaurs. But it's for sure possible. Yeah,
that's a huge difference. If that's already here right now, as you're telling, yeah, we will definitely be in a really new world within 5 years. But then the technology is going so rapidly. Like every day there can be something new. Every day there can be a new technical way of selling things, of buying things. So yeah, this is great.
In this regard, what will the Ethereum 2.0 change mean for you? Will that change the way or make it even better?
It's gonna make it a lot easier, although there are plenty of layer 2 solutions. So Jen's probably going to ask me to explain this, but there's of course, on top of Ethereum, there are other technical solutions that make it a lot more easy to scale, essentially, to do a lot more transactions with a way lower cost and way higher efficiency. So there are ways for us to do it right now, and we're already doing it. But it's going to be likely more elegant, and it's going to be perhaps more interoperable in the short term. But this is something that our blockchain developer team is on top of every day. And as Kjeld says, it's kind of crazy because it's like you're riding on a train, but you're also laying the track in front of you every second. So it's really making it up and then building it, and then it works, and then there's another cool thing that you can add, and then something changes. So our focus is really on we have real clients that have real shows with real attendees. So the bottom line is they need to be able to go to the show and have a great experience, and then it's up to us to make that more efficient and more multifaceted also in terms of on-chain activity and what that allows, like a fan experience and revenue sharing and stuff like that. So it's gonna be better either way, for sure, to have that, because I think it's gonna benefit the whole industry and also gonna take away that nasty argument that it's way too expensive and the threshold is too high for people to get in. Which I think is, it's an unnecessary argument, but it's a matter of time until that is taken out, and then we can talk about the substance. And I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we don't have enough time to get into the whole ETH 2.0 on this panel. Maybe stay tuned.
Sorry,
Maybe
just popped up.
No, that's fine. Okay, so this is the last question. And I just want to shout out to the students who expertly organized this panel for writing these rapid fire questions, because this last one, is wild. I read it and I was like, wow, imagine this happens, but I don't know. Okay. In 5 years' time, there will be a thorough legal framework worldwide for cryptocurrencies and NFTs. Do we see that happening?
No.
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 Well, we can of course we can
agrees on
elaborate about the answer, but in 5 years' time, no. But you know, that should not discourage us about starting, about doing it, about talking like in these kind of panels, what could be possible and what could be changed, and where are the closest opportunities to change the music industry. But if that will happen, or if that goal will have been met in 5 years, now I think that's a bit too positive. But I think somewhere within 10 to 15 years, we will have a different change. I mean, we are still in the hype cycle, and it needs to mature, and more people need to embrace it. If more people embrace it and start thinking differently about, you know, what is possible, then it will change. But not in 5 years, I think.
Althea, I saw you shaking your head rapidly when I read that.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think international legal frameworks are kind of contradictory terms put together already. I see Sander nodding yes, so I'm happy. But so I don't think that's going to happen, but probably some more really informal code of conduct is possible, and just some ways of working that people are going to agree on for sure. And that's just going to happen by trial and error. I think people are going to auto adjust, I think, to what they deem is appropriate conduct of behavior. And hopefully some of it's going to be standardized a bit, so it's easier for everyone to get involved and help mature the industry. Yeah.
I think what you mentioned about the code of conduct, those kind of things are paramount importance for change. And you know, you see a lot of record label organizations and publishing organizations already making such code of conducts, and it's just also, well, it's really nice that you say, because people need to be more aware that they could also, you know, form a group and say this is the kind of thing that we see as just. And then, you know, the legal framework before that has changed, like from a government point of view, that will take years by itself, even before they know what's going on, you know. So we can change it from the inside. We can change the music industry by adhering to those codes of conduct, and by, you know, hopefully finding common ground and love of music to move forward.
Kel, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Like what Lisa just said, like everything just goes by itself. When the government is involved, it takes years. Like there is already a part of the European Union that says we're changing the digital future, the shaping of Europe's digital future, and they are already talking about blockchain and also NFTs. I'm also in contact with them about it, so we will see where it goes. But it won't happen in 5 years. I don't even think 10 years. Like it's way too hard. It's way too complicated, and it just loosens up every possibility about blockchain. And yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that should discourage anyone. I mean, creating laws and regulation, especially across borders, that is something that takes a long, long time. And I don't even think we've seen it been done really properly yet. So that does not mean that you should not participate in the technology and embrace it. So yeah, I think that's a good note to leave off on. I want to thank you for the awesome discussion. I could talk about NFTs all day long. So thank you, Kel, Delafia, and Sander, for being a part of the panel.
No problem. Thanks
for hosting.
Thank you for hosting it.